Hi everyone, for the next couple of days we'll be with the disciples on the road to Emmaus. That same day, two disciples were traveling to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem. They were talking to each other about everything that had happened. And while they were discussing these things, Jesus himself arrived and joined them on their journey. They were prevented from recognizing him. He said to them, "What are you talking about as you walk along?" They stopped, their faces downcast. The one named Cleopas said, "Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem who's unaware of the things that have taken place there over the past few days?" He said to them, "What things?" They said to him, "The things about Jesus of Nazareth. Because of his powerful deeds and words, he was recognized by God and all the people as a prophet. But our chief priests and our leaders handed him over to be sentenced to death, and they crucified him. We had hoped that he would be the one to redeem Israel. All these things happened 3 days ago." And then Jesus said to them, "You foolish people, your dull minds keep you from believing all of the prophets talked about. Wasn't it necessary for the Christ to suffer these things and enter into his glory?" Then he interpreted for them the things written about himself in the scriptures, starting with Moses and going through all the prophets. So you hear from these two disciples as they're walking home, the sense that their hopes are just gone. That they believed in Jesus, they hoped in Jesus, that he would redeem Israel, but since he got crucified, it's not going to happen. We've talked a lot as we've gone through Mark about the messianic expectations, that how much they expected Jesus to come and make things right, to make Israel great again by being the king that they wanted him to be, a king just like David, who would fight and kill all of his enemies, that he would come and kick out the Roman Empire, and Jesus wasn't going to do that. And so that hope is lost. And they probably would have said that those hopes came from scriptures, from knowing the story of David and what God had said, that this is what the Messiah would be like. But what Jesus does here is show them that that's not actually the story. Now, when it says he opened the scriptures to them, I don't think he was just proof texting, right? Picking out little verses in the prophets to say, here, this predicts that Jesus was the Messiah because he was born here, because he did this. What he's doing is looking and showing them the big story of Scripture, about how it's always God working through suffering, that it's God showing power through weakness, not through strength, showing that violence can't establish God's kingdom. And so as we read Scripture, we need to do the same thing, to read it with Christ and let Christ interpret what the true story is. We can use the Bible to justify anything. And in fact, Christians have done that for pretty much the whole church's history. But we won't do that if we're looking at it with Christ and if we're looking at it for Christ. We will see that the whole story of Scripture points to him and his way as the only way of establishing the reign of God on earth.